we watched quite a few videos on YouTube about people talking about their interview process.
That's why we're recording it.
Yeah, yes. It's just bullshit.
Hi, 新年快乐! We will cover the software we use for all the application documents. In the middle, we change our address, so we'll cover a little bit of the process and what we did. And the final, the interview day, when we arrive, what kind of questions they ask, things like that.
We kind of start off using an application, not really an application, it's a service called Boundless, and they touted a 100% success rate. So we thought we'd use that just to kind of make sure that everything was squared away and accurate. And what they did is they kind of get you in touch with a immigration lawyer, I believe, somebody who is very experienced at putting together the application packet. And they kind of walk you through what you need to put together. And they'll review it for you and tell you if anything's missing, maybe critique, order, and anything like that. And any sort of details that they think will help out. For that, it was about $750 just to put it together. And of course, that doesn't count the actual application fees, that's just Boundless fee. So what we got from them was the actual packet to be mailed out, and of course somebody to ask questions of, right? So an actual immigration lawyer that we could talk to and ask questions as we're putting it together. So we submitted a bunch of paperwork to them.
I like the interface. They're just a web app. And they have a bunch of more like I feel like they use a lot of accordions in their interface, and then you just submit things. They'll ask maybe my work authorization card, my passport, my F1 visa, my J1 waiver. If you need any J1 waiver, definitely finish that process before you start the actual application process. So it was easy. We don't really need to figure out which document goes to I-130 or I-485 because they did all that shit for us. We just submit all the required documents. Yeah.
If you've ever used tax software like a TurboTax or a TaxAct, it feels kind of reminiscent of that while you're putting together your packet. It just kind of walks you through, asks questions. It's kind of a guidance system that kind of leads you down, and in the end, it puts it all together in the proper, proper structure for you.
Yeah, I like they just automatically put those NA, not applicable thing for you on the form, so they will mail you a yay thick package to your doorstep, include all your documents, all your information already printed on the I-485 and I-130 and I-131. I don't know, all that documents. They will give you some advice. Like we start the application in February 2020. I mean, we sent out the application.
That's when we sent it. We started before that, of course.
Yeah, and then they suggest us better wait it for 3 months after the last entry. Yeah, after the last entry into the United States. So if you traveled anywhere, they suggest a 3-month delay before you actually submit your application. That's their suggestion. I don't really know if that matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for us to say because we did so we can't tell you what would have happened had we not.
Yep.
Yeah. So in that packet, it came like nicely put together with links and everything, and they don't submit it, you submit it, right? So they'll send it to you. You can look through. If you need to offer any other documentation at that time, you can slot it in where necessary, and then you'll seal it up, and then you have to go post it in the mail with the payment. So and that was about
1,700.
Yeah, 1,760, I think. Yeah, so kind of costly, a lot costly, and of course that doesn't include things like your medical examination and all of the vaccinations which are required as well. All told, definitely over $2,000 to kind of get this whole thing squared away. We saved a little bit of money by getting vaccinations before the exam.
Yeah, we went to Costco. And it was only, I don't know, $100? I don't know, $70, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But the actual physical exam, I don't really remember how much. 200-ish, I think.
I have no recollection.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's definitely 200-ish.
It seems fair.
Yeah.
You are a little bit limited in who you can go to because they have to be selected or approved essentially by the state that you're in, right? So yeah, there were a certain number of people in our area that we could go to. I'm sure that's not really an issue if you have a big city. So.
Yep.
Also, note that your insurance will not be accepted for it. You have to pay for the exam.
And then, oh, by the way, they will give you a copy of the whole exam report, and they'll give you an envelope sealed and signed by the doctor. So make sure you don't open that envelope. It's really important. You have to wait till the interview and let the officer open that document by herself or himself or themselves.
Cover all the bases. Yeah. All right. So, and then after we'd submitted the application, I just kicked the camera. So we actually then had to go from Southern Oregon to Portland. That was the nearest office that we had to go to. And we found ourselves taking like a 4.5 hour drive, 5 hour, sure, just for fingerprints. It was literally a 15-minute thing. And that includes like wait time at the door, right? It was pretty absurd. So be mindful of that. Your local USCIS office is potentially a long ways away, and that could be even if you're in a bigger city. We were pretty excited when we were able to move. So we moved from Southern Oregon to Austin, as a lot of folks have, and we kind of thought, great, Austin's a pretty big city. There's definitely going to be something right here, and we actually ultimately ended up having to go to San Antonio. So we still had an hour drive to get to our appointment, but still a lot better. Yeah. So you want to talk about the actual change of address, like what we did? Or?
Yeah. First appointment I got was the fingerprint, like collection of biometrics or something. During the actual date was April 2020, but then all the USCIS was closed because of COVID-19 since March. So basically, we couldn't attend that appointment at all. Did we do? I think we called. We were kind of worried that we missed that appointment, or like we couldn't know what kind of policy they had during that time. So we called and asked if we need to do anything, and then the USCIS, I don't know, customer service just said that they will send out another appointment later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we received another one, but when we received and finally, I think the date was, I don't know, November. Not the date, the month and date. So around November or October, and at that time we were already ready to move to Austin, and we were like, let's not do the 5 hour driving. Instead, do just a 1 hour driving would be much better. So then we wrote just kind of a cover letter, and then sent back the actual notice, I-797, and then say we're gonna move, and then we are going to continue all this process and all the appointment at the whatever office that's the nearest to Austin.
Yep. And there were instructions on that paper that we got telling us about the change of address, right? So it's not particularly challenging. And after we did our change of address and we asked for the reschedule, it was all pretty seamless.
Yeah, like we didn't really hear back anything or any confirmation, but they just sent out a new notice anyways. And you can go to the USCIS website to just do all the change of address online.
Yep. So I guess we're kind of at the point where we would talk about the actual interview / getting ready for it.
Yep.
So we watched quite a few videos on YouTube about people talking about their interview process.
That's why we're recording it.
Yeah, yes. And an interesting thing is that there seems to be like an abundance of caution and tons of advice and a lot of question prep and example questions. And we really went through all of this stuff, and we ended up coming up with a secondary packet of paperwork to bring along with us. Renewed pay stubs, our W-2s.
Yeah, I have that. We use, because there are so many documents, so I decided to order just this from Amazon. Have this folder and then mark all of them, so it's easier. So you can just have a relaxed interview instead of being nervous and try to find your documents. So I had all my I-94, my passport copy, though they did say if you already submitted some of those documents, you don't really need to bring them, but I did anyway. What else? My J1 waiver, my all those there notice of action 1797C.
The waiver, by the way, is something that she wanted to see. She explicitly requested to see that piece. I think one of the only other documents that she asked for was our W-2s, the most recent ones, because a year had passed basically since we'd submitted the application, almost exactly a year, and then our leases actually. She wanted to see the lease, and we didn't have printed out our current lease.
Yep.
My bad. But we had our previous one, and while I was frantically looking through my phone for the digital copy of our lease, she was like, I don't need it. So it's like, sweet.
She instead gave us a rent quiz.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an interesting note. That was the only thing that she tried to do like a blind test on, right? She handed us both a piece of paper and a pen. And we were still sitting next to each other, all right? We didn't go into separate rooms, and she just asked us what our rent was. And we just wrote down our answers, right? And being good sports, we were careful not to see what the other person wrote, though she made no attempt to stop that. And we did have a minor discrepancy, because you actually put 1450, and I just put around, a little squiggly, 1400. Which led to some follow-up question of what was that about, and it was because of our cat rent, which I hadn't factored in, and that was fine.
Yeah, and I don't even remember the exact amount of money for our rent, because there were initial rent, there were those appliances we rent from the place, and then there were like utilities. I just don't know if that should count as rent. I guess not really.
No.
Yeah. There were cat fees. I don't even remember the cat fees.
Yeah.
But similar numbers. I think she was fine with that.
Right. I mean, an important note is that it's a human being, right? This is not like a multiple choice quiz or anything like that. So just be rational and try to be calm and explain yourselves in a logical way. They're probably going to be fine. They're not really there to try to attack you, so to speak. They're just looking for things that are out of place. And as long as whatever happens to kind of be a hiccup in the process is easily explained away, you're probably okay.
Yeah, and then the other thing that spent us quite some time was the birth certificate. She was asking for my actual birth certificate,
the original
document from Taiwan, because we didn't submit all the Mandarin documents, and I'm not sure if that's a red flag or whatever. It's just like I'm not even sure if we are supposed to upload all those documents in native language as well, because I submit all those English version that was notarized properly.
Interestingly, Boundless told us to make sure that we got translations. And in fact, they were sticklers on the idea of a document that had both Mandarin and English on it, because the official translation still had some Mandarin on it. Okay. Now that Mandarin was not like the only way that they explained it, right? Like it would have Mandarin and then the English right next to it, so it's very obvious. But they were like, no, that could be a problem. Make sure there's no Mandarin on that. And then when we got in, the lady was like, "Where's the original?"
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it was very obvious that she had no idea how to read Mandarin, so she was just staring at this thing with zero comprehension. But it was very important that we had it, so have it. Oh, so we kind of we got really far ahead of ourselves and started talking about the questions and the agent herself. We were talking about some of the documents we got prepped. Like I said, photos, W-2s, and just making sure we had all our identification stuff ready, get everything in folders organized with notes on them so we could easily retrieve the stuff if it was asked for.
And we could talk about the actual day, right? When we arrived,
Yeah, so it was, our time was scheduled for 8 in the morning, and it was an hour drive away, so not too bad, but we actually decided to go down the night before and just drive over in the morning because you're supposed to be there 15 minutes early.
That's during COVID. I don't know in normal times.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was fine. It was actually really smooth. We got there probably about 20 minutes early or so, and there was a line forming. We just kind of got in line and go through it.
I think
it was really quick.
Maybe 20 people in the line outside of the building, and they were controlling, of course, the actual number of people inside the office.
Yep. So an interesting note, there's a lot of discussion, I would say, over dress, right? Like how to present yourself and the idea of trying to be respectful.
It's what we wore.
We are wearing precisely what we wore to the event. And there was a pretty wide range of representation there. There were definitely people in suits and high heels. There were definitely people there in jeans, sweatshirts, like just, pretty much anything seemed to be there. Now, do I know how their interviews went? No. Okay. But I wouldn't stress the idea of putting on a suit or anything like that if that's something you're worried about. So.
Yeah, most people still wear more like business casual.
Yeah. Yep. Our agent seemed to get a bit of a kick out of our Asian theme. So. Yeah,
she was having wearing the Lunar New Year theme mask, and the first, I don't know, the moment she met us, you're like, oh, Lunar New Year stuff. Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yep, ended up working out pretty good for us. So as we got into the building, like before she greeted us, we keep getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
There was a security stage. It was really simple, just like going through the airport. Just walk through a metal detector. It took 30 seconds to get through the thing. No trouble, no questions. And then we just sat in a room with a bunch of other people. And
facing backwards.
Yeah, not facing the door, which is odd. And they didn't have like a number system or anything like that. They
did give you a number.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, we had a number, but there was no system telling you, say, like whose number was up. They just had someone walk in. The agents walked in individually and just called out the number they were looking for. And this was not a silent room, mind you. People were chattering all around us.
So annoying.
Yeah, but we could hear, so no big deal.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was everyone was in the naturalization room. I don't know, just because they don't have enough space or whatnot.
Yeah.
Everyone's facing towards the stage and like big TV screens there,
which weren't being used for anything.
Yeah.
Which is kind of annoying.
Yeah. Like how easy it would be if they just show the current number on those screens so everyone could see it. And some officers would walk in and be really quiet to call the number, like K4, and people were still talking, Even and then at that point, I was so annoyed. Just like, gosh, just shut the f up, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't assume that's something that everyone's going to have a struggle with. I'm sure every location is really different and every
Yeah, we're
instance
just talking
is really
about San
different,
Antonio
so.
office.
Yeah. And during COVID, there was a waiting room. We didn't get put into the waiting room. I don't know why. So once it was our turn, and the lady came to retrieve us, the actual agent came into the waiting room and retrieved us, and sat us down, and just started to kind of go through things. And it started out really slow, really casual, more or less just who we are, how we met, really basic stuff. And then she, of course, wanted our identification right away. You know what? I have to say that I was actually really surprised at how little information she was looking for out of
Probably
me.
because we had everything in the package already.
It's true, yeah. Like we had, like I said before, we'd prepared a whole new set of pictures, and we had like 3 years of picture books. This little thing I do every year. I don't know if we were all that excited, but like we were pretty pleased with ourselves having put this together.
Yeah, and we brought those heavy photo books.
Yeah, these are great. Just like through Google Photos.
And she didn't even look at that. She didn't
Yeah.
ask for that.
When we said that we brought more photos, she told us she didn't need them. I thought, all right, but we were pretty excited about it. And, yeah. So and honestly, through our entire drive down to San Antonio, we were kind of quizzing each other about questions, right? Family members, places we had been, and dates of different events and things. Just trying to understand all of this stuff. And I have to say, at least our experience, almost none of those questions came up. Seriously, about 3 questions that we were prepared for may have come up. It was really low threshold, I have to say, in terms of the questions. So she asked if we had met each other's families, and we had kind of quizzed on all the family members we had met, looking at family trees, making sure that we had the names down. And it was really just glossed over. Like, did you meet each other's families? When?
Yeah. And that's it.
It was a relief, but a bit odd. I'm not sure if that is normal or not. And I think, I really think it had to do a lot with the quality of the packet that we ended up sending in. So, not to be an advertisement for Boundless, but I think that what we put together and what we sent out really made the case pretty effectively prior to our arrival.
And then I kind of figured she was not that kind of person that can easily connect dots, but she was a little bit confused about my actual timeline in the US, because I had a J1, I was a visiting student, and I went back to Taiwan, and I came here again, and I tried to just keep, I don't know, explaining the whole timeline, and then she just couldn't get it, and to be honest, I got a little bit annoyed, so I just like straightened the whole thing, like no. So I was here with J1 with J1 visa from this month and year to this month and year, and I went back to Taiwan, finished my own actual degree there, and then applied for the grad school in the US and came again at this time and year. And yeah, because she was so confused and annoyed me a lot. Yeah, she thought like I had a degree here and then went and visit Taiwan or something. I don't know she just made shit up.
Yeah, she'd also got confused for my employment because my employer uses an HR service. So like my W-2s have that service written on it instead of my actual company. And she just like couldn't wrap her head around that. And I try not to dwell on it because frankly it didn't really matter that much, but it was pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
Trying to explain things, you know?
Yeah, I feel like we at least spent maybe 20 minutes on those things just because she wasn't able to connect the dots and make sense of those things.
She was actually pretty amicable. She was nice to us.
Yeah.
And never even during that confusion did I feel like there was like this, I I don't think she was trying an angle. I don't think she was trying to like catch us out and say, oh, that doesn't add up or that feels fishy. She was just trying to understand, having a bit of a struggle, but it didn't feel like we were adversarial. So that was nice.
I didn't feel like she was. It was hard to read what she was thinking. Like, she doesn't really have a poker face. She's so amicable. When she was like, oh, I didn't really see your wedding photo. I only see you attend your friend's wedding. And I was like, just really happy, like pointing out, yeah, that's just the only photo that was us in courthouse.
Yeah.
And we were dressing just like jeans. And then she was like, oh, were you hurried to get married or something? That kind of questions made me feel like, ooh, that's subtle.
Yeah, and I think that's true. Like, they're not always going to be announcing when they're quizzing you, essentially, right? Like, if they're looking for something that's out of place, it's not as if you're going to see it all over them, right? Why would they give that away? Right? They're looking to get little bits of information that might tell them something.
Yeah.
So be on your guard,
Yeah.
right? But I think it's really important that you be really natural.
Yeah.
Right? So when I say be on your guard, basically you just want to be mindful and like just make sure you're listening and you're not going to respond really like knee-jerk, right? Give it a second, think through your answer, but at the same time, just be really natural with it, right? If you're there and your relationship is real, which I'm going to go ahead and assume that everybody watching this has a proper relationship and they're not trying to cheat the system. And if you're not trying to cheat the system, this process isn't really a problem. So.
It feels a lot like, I feel like my coworker, one of my coworkers, used a really great metaphor. It was like Lunar New Year and you went back to your grandma's house and all those like really remote relatives trying to ask you personal questions, that kind of feeling. Do you want kids? How many kids do we want? When did we meet? Where did we meet?
Yep. She actually brought that up numerous times.
Yeah, which is really odd.
When and where we met. And sometimes, honestly, she just kind of was muttering it.
Yeah.
And we couldn't tell if we were supposed to respond or like confirm or something. She'd be like going through papers off the side. And to be like, so you met in 2017, right? She's like going through
And then,
yes?
Yeah.
Like, we've gone over that? Like,
is that a question?
Yeah.
And then my other questions that doesn't even relevant to the relationship, like my mom's name, my dad's name, how many siblings do I have? How many siblings do you have? But just ask us, not really answering for each other.
Yeah, which I have to say,
weird.
again, was a disappointment for me because I had, of course, as I said, we'd quizzed. And I was like, I got the names down, we're good to go. And it does require a quiz for me because I'm not very good at Mandarin in general. And so the family's names were something I was kind of making sure I could get out rather naturally. And she didn't ask me. She asked about the names, but she just asked you. And I was like, hey,
Yeah.
ask me.
Yeah, she didn't really quiz us about each other's information.
Yeah, so we got a verbal approval in the office there. In any event, we didn't leave with anything, right? So we were told that, but there's no documentation. We don't get anything right then and there. We'll just get it mailed as anybody else would later on.
Yeah, but then I checked the USCIS case status right away, and then not really right away, after a few hours, and that changed to card being produced. So, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting note, in addition to that, is we had been married at that time just over the 2-year mark. Like literally about 2 weeks over 2 years. If you are married for under 2 years, your green card is only good for 2 years, right? And then you'll have to go in and sort of defend, like re-defend the validity of your marriage, and then you can get your longer one. We are really fortunate in that we had just crossed that line, and that means that we're going to get a 10-year green card. So we were able to kick this down the road a good long time, and that's exciting. A lot of paperwork, a lot of money, so nice to be able to focus on other things.
So that's all. That's it in this video we're gonna cover.
Yeah.
Good luck with your application. Woo woo. Woo woo. 好啦，就是刚刚非常冗长的2人婚姻绿卡经验分享，希望帮助到大家，拜拜。